This is the story of quite possibly the single worst, most disastrous concert to have taken place in Australia in all of human history. A show in which the singer subjected the audience to constant insults and racially charged abuse, also threatening to murder a member of the band, firing another member of the band live on stage, and then assaulting him by smashing him in the head with a guitar. After which the audience turned hostile and the security curtain had to be lowered at the venue. Allow me to introduce you to an underground American band called the Brian Jonestown Massacre. I say a band, but what it actually is just one person, notoriously unhinged frontman Anton Newcombe and his ever-changing cast of bandmates, who join, presumably lured by the dangling carrot of touring with a band and living the rock and roll dream, and then quit or get systematically fired by Anton. And this circus has been going through the motions now for decades. It was them who introduced Oasis to the drug crystal meth right before an all-important industry showcase gig at the Whiskey A Go-Go in LA. And as a result of the gig that followed, Noel abandoned the tour, left the band for a while, and Oasis nearly came to an end before they'd even made their second album. The Brian Jonestown Massacre were the band who directly instigated that single most chaotic incident in the history of Oasis. For them, however, that was just another day at the office. They became known for onstage fights, onstage firings, but most of all for the deranged behaviour of frontman Anton, who has an erratic and uncontrollable temper, a history of hardcore drug abuse, and a track record of repeated violent, physical and verbal abuse. Our story today, however, does not take place in the 1990s, but rather in 2023 in Melbourne, Australia, at a venue called The Forum. The Brian Jonestown Massacre were booked to play on November the 21st of that year. And today, as a world first, I'm going to walk you through that gig, showing almost everything that happened with explanations and subtitles. A huge thank you also goes out to Chris at the YouTube channel KC Sunshine Adventures, who very kindly posted the full footage of this gig at my request. Chris documents gigs worldwide, but especially in the Melbourne area in Australia. If you would like to see the full-length concert, there is a link to Chris's channel down in the description. And lastly, before we jump feet first into the shit show, I've done my very best to transcribe what Anton is saying here. I've done my best, but I may have made some mistakes. The concert opens with the only bit of footage we don't have, which is Anton Newcombe's kind of opening monologue. So that's the one bit we have to piece together from second-hand reports afterwards. An article in the Melbourne Age titled Brian Jonestown Massacre, Was This the Worst Gig Ever? Reports, frontman Anton Newcombe's battles with drug and alcohol abuse over the years have been well documented. On Tuesday in Melbourne, Newcombe appeared to be tired and emotional, as they say in the business, from the get-go, as he began with a long anecdote about having been held up at knife point with the tour promoter outside his hotel earlier that day. I explained to them one thing, he said of his assailant. A knife won't stop me. I will make you eat it, punch you in the stomach, stab you in the leg, grab you by the hair and drag you to the police. So get to fuck. Despite the defiance, the incident had taken its toll on him. I expended most of the voice that I wanted to give to you, he said. Unfortunately, on this day, all I can give you is everything I have. Our footage begins with a song called The Real. Almost every band member seems to have their eyes nervously trained on Anton at all times. And throughout the song he seems to keep trying to correct the tempo by tiny amounts, at one point yelling at the drummer. He then goes into a solo standing next to the drummer, at the end of which he yells at him again, waves his hand at a slightly higher tempo, and points upwards, presumably meaning speed up again. He sprints back to the mic to start singing, flips the drummer off, and points upwards yet again. He then hand signals downwards for some reason, as if to say, slow down. And then, shortly after, the song comes to an end. All throughout the song, the drummer manages this pretty well. He maintains a very consistent tempo all the way through, and the song sounds fine, except for Anton's singing, which is not strong at all. After the song The Real, Anton goes into not the first monologue of the night, but the first one we have a record of. It's a bewildering mix of threatening the drummer and stream of consciousness stoner nonsense. And here, we have started to leave the normal world behind and cross over into the mentally addled fever dream of Anton Newcombe.
All the people that loved you in your whole life, and God bless our enemies, I pray that somebody buries them before they stink up this town. It's going to be difficult. That's okay. It's going to be difficult because I don't have the voice to possess to be able to play this, but however, I want to make one thing clear. I don't have a voice to warn you. Look at me. Look at you. Look at me. I don't got a voice to warn you to get your shit together. Save your life. Be a lifesaver. Be a hero. Don't be a dead zero. It's the internet, right? It's all about ones and zeros, right? Be the one. That calling, the core values inside us. That calling, that one. It defines who you are, what you will be, what you can be, and what you don't know you can be. But you have to warn your enemies. Next time you know, fuck with no one ever again. That's what you say to somebody before you punch their lights out. Next time you know, fuck with no one ever. Mom. Fucking shut up. This ain't Hungry Jack. Shut up. We're chilling. It's a nice place. Thank you.
And there, at the end of the first song, we see one of the most consistent themes of the night. Shh. Anytime someone else is speaking and something comes into Anton's head that he would like to say, he immediately, compulsively shushes them. He does it to the audience constantly, and he does it to members of his band, even if they are actually trying to back him up. The next song of the night is a track called Fudge, and already Anton's fragile sanity is starting to crack. Right after the song, he takes a brief moment to correct one of his band's mic technique.
I have nothing to give. We'll see, but don't sing so loud. Remember, this far away from the mic, singing loud is better than...
And then the band go into the next song, which is called Pish. And as the band are playing this song, Anton immediately starts signalling to the drummer again, pointing upwards as if to say speed up. However, he then goes over to him and bobs up and down to illustrate the speed he wants. Which is not faster, it's actually slower. Then again, later in the same song, he signals to the drummer again to stop doing something, when the drummer actually isn't doing anything different at all. That is the closest to normal part of the gig over and done with. And from this point on, the gap between every song is now absolutely ridiculous. Huge, long, empty extended stretches in which Anton wanders on and off stage, leaving the band milling around looking lost, or comes back on stage to berate, insult, or share nonsensical stoner wisdom with the crowd. During the very long pause after the song Pish, someone in the crowd starts getting rowdy. They're just shouting the word yeah, but Anton doesn't like that. So, here comes monologue number 2.
Sure. I told the doctor to stick a needle in my throat to sing for you. Now I need a minute for me. Carry on. I did that for you. You're not doing this for me, so I can come out and do more for you. If you want to yell at me, I assure you, I will get you folded in half and throw you into a dog catcher's truck from where I come from. But that's just normal police truck. I promise you, try it. Excuse me while I freshen for 1 second. So I can come back fresh for you. Thank you for your consideration.
After another long pause, the crowd are now starting to get a bit rowdy and frustrated. Having paid for tickets and presumably transport, quite reasonably they want the band to play some music. Anton, however, decides instead to start singling people out with a flashlight and trying to get them thrown out of the venue. And this is also the point in the night when he starts racially insulting Australians and calling them zoo animals.
Thank you. Let's simmer down. Enjoy it. Let's see what comes next. Are you what? You said you want to snack on my dick? Shut up. Or keep talking and hand me your spot torch. Because I want to get to the bottom of this. Since you have my attention, your light. Jordan. Evidently, you have something to say to me. I'm not talking to everybody. Is that you? The person with the spotlight needs to be thrown out right now. Evidently, he's right there, hiding behind somebody, moving backwards. Because evidently, they don't understand the gravity of this situation. But I've got a good, now they're huddled. Evidently, was it you? I thought so. Fuck you. Who was that? I don't have a voice to argue with every idiot in this room. But I have, shut up please. I have all the time. Please go have a glass of water. I have all the time in the world to not sing and pick you out like the cancer you are and have you thrown in a paddy wagon, guaranteed. Right now, one by one. Boo! Boo! Boo you! Check this out. I wanted to go drinking in Sydney one time, and they closed the whole fucking every bar at 7 o'clock. Why? Because of me? No, because of boo you! Fuck you! However, the zoo is actually you guys. Come on.
Hey, Anton, they're saying I love you.
I might be a cunt, but you're a fucking cunt. Fuck off, cunt. I'm trying to work. I don't go to 7-Eleven and give you a hard time when you're giving blowjobs in the back of the bathroom because he wrote that thing on this wall that said, "Hi, mate. Good day." 077196. It's all fun and games. We're all thoroughly decent people. I'm here to entertain you. Let me do my job. Evidently, in this country, we're supposed to ignore all the fucking pollution, not the pollution, this nasty shit. We're supposed to concentrate on all the wonderful things that we have. Every day is a good day in Australia, mate. It's a good day. G'day.
The next song is You Think I'm Joking, which thankfully passes without a hitch. At this point, in the vast spiralling silences between songs, the audience now have started to turn, and instead of shouting for more music, someone in the audience is now telling Anton to get to fuck. Which leads us into the mercifully brief monologue number 3.
Actions are so much powerful, more powerful than words. And I apologize that I don't possess a vocal toolkit to explain the gravity of gravity will hate you in a second if you don't shut up, because you will find the pavement. If I don't possess the ability to express through words the importance to certain idiots at certain times that the best deal is for them to talk less and enjoy more respectfully. This is not an invitation for some kid in Australia, in any city, you pick the city, this city, to think, oh, my parents are well-to-do and I'm a Caucasian, and this is a candy store, and I'm gonna take a shit in the middle of it because it's my personal public toilet, which is the reoccurring feeling this autistic child gets every day. My personal pronoun is get to fuck. Understood? Do not fuck with what we don't understand. What I, however, thank you. I thank you. I thank all of you. It's truth. Thank you.
Then we go into a song called Your Mind Is My Cafe, and you'll be shocked to hear that a few moments in, Anton starts signalling to the drummer to change his speed again. And after this track, in the aimless waiting between songs, the audience member shouting "Get to fuck" carries on. And at this point, the band also start to react. In we go to monologue number 4.
Excuse me, come here and say to my face, you twat. I'll give you my hat.
Come up here. Come up here.
Come on now. I'll give you my hat if you make it to right here.
Oi, cunt. Come up here.
Come here. That's what I thought. You're a fucking bed shitter. Shut up. Clean your bed.
There is yet another massive pause in which people are complaining about the massive pauses, and Anton comes on and says this.
Then fuck off to a dance club. Somebody pinch the person next to them until in the ass. Don't hurt them. They're running out of songs, because I will sit through whole songs to make a point. Fuck you! I came to Australia for one reason. It is fuck you, you cancerous little rectum, you screaming vaginal dictata. I'm digress. I'm not afraid of sharks. I'm not afraid of death. Let me introduce you to the other side.
And they are at long last getting ready to play the next song when it turns out the guitars are out of tune.
That's the other thing. All of my guitars are older than all of us. They need to be tuned to play like a Stradivarius. Shut the fuck up! These are actually Stradivariuses from the 60s. No joke. A minimum minimum of decorum is required, even in a sea of fucking idiots that think everything is owed to them. Thank you, Ho. God bless you. God bless you. Please, sir. Please, him.
And now we come to the linchpin moment, perhaps the most pivotal moment of the entire gig. Because here, after a long tour of being abused and threatened and, in my opinion, mentally tortured for Anton's amusement, one member of the band dares to raise an objection to his bullying behaviour. The next song is That Girl Suicide. In the middle, Anton singles out the drummer again, and then later in the song has a go at him again. And once the song is finished, Anton goes over to the drummer and continues his verbal assault. And while we can't hear what he's actually saying, it turns out that he was actually threatening to kill him. Not for the first time. And his guitarist, Ryan, finally snaps on the abused drummer's behalf.
I've had enough death threats for one fucking tour.
And Ryan is the only person in this entire show to ever actually stand up to Anton's bullying behaviour. And in response, of course, Anton immediately just utterly freaks out and goes nuclear, cancelling the remainder of the entire tour.
The story's over. And as a token, as a token of my appreciation to him for bringing us here.
He unplugs his mic and vanishes backstage for a very long time. Then, after absolutely ages, Anton emerges from the side of the stage and starts flinging piles of papers into the audience. I'm not sure what they were, but I presume it was the tour paperwork. And now we come to monologue number 5, in which Anton is seriously angry and seemingly looking for someone to fire. He decides to verbally attack the tambourine player.
This is our last song, but Shay, are you start being a rock star early? Well, I don't know what the fuck's going on. I don't like it. I'll be waiting for Ron Grace. I'll be waiting for Ron Grace and my guitar tech would have had that one. I think we should play Mother All Fuckers. I'm confused. This guy's being a rock star, that guy's giving me a 12 string. This guy's giving me that feeling. What do you want to play about me?
Anton, what do you want to play? Anton, what do you want to play?
What do you play?
What do you want to play?
Is this our last song of the night? Okay. I think we should play Forgotten Graves, Lenny Jordan, and you should fucking pay attention to technically the stage manager. Take the sunglasses down and pay attention. You grabbed the guitar, nobody had my guitar. You're the stage manager, bro. I'm the tambourine player. Actually the stage manager. You're the boss of the stage. Not the boss of the universe, but the boss of this stage. You are the actual boss. But you need stuff. You are the boss. He's filling in for Joel, who didn't care about you, because his 17-year-old cat was passing away. A 50-year-old man said, "I'm hip about time, but I don't care. This is very important." You want to yell at me? Or you want to yell at yourself? Or do you want the facts? Back the fuck off. Let me fucking... Excuse me, I will, except these guys are in disorder. I'm not. They told me when I was playing the guitar that isn't even on the stage. I got 2 guitar techs, neither one having given me the guitar. This guy was fully prepared to rock your socks off. He's the stage manager. He's not Joel. Let's be humble. Let's be humble, Shay. Let's all be humble. You think I'm your enemy, you're going to lose in the fight against me. I have no enemies.
So we're playing another of our
Anton.
Anton wanders off stage again, and now the crowd have got so angry that they've started throwing things. You can see projectiles hitting the stage. And monologue number 6 is where Anton starts being really racist about Australians, aggressively attacking his host country and insulting them.
Sometimes, listen, it's not any step in a pile of shit in life. It will happen when you're talking to your mate, when you're fucking on Grindr. It's how you get it off your fucking shoe. Now we have an understanding. All I know is my grandma will kick the shit out of me if I don't get the shit off my shoe. Any which way in life, excuse me, if I tread in her house, it is the temple. Now we all have an understanding. I love you. I love you, Sherry. Wait, what? Something broken? Fuck it. Undefeated. Core values. Who you are is who you be. What you can be. What you will be. What you don't know you can be. However, you would all be speaking Japanese with a German accent right now if it wasn't for the person that I stole that quote from. General Douglas MacArthur. Facts. We are undefeated. You are living in a paradise evidently founded by rejects and criminals. Here's to a life of crime. Oh, don't do anything. You apologize. You
Come you guys, whoever that came from.
because I'm still here.
Every fucking night.
Shut up. You don't throw.
Who?
You miss it.
Someone
No.
in the crowd. Who was it?
Ryan, take a walk for a second. Ryan, let me explain to you something. You threw something their direction, go sit and think about that. It's against the law. However, you threw something at me and I'm fully prepared to go.
Where's the security? And how come people don't point out the motherfuckers that throw shit at us? It's really easy. You just look to your left or your right, and you'll know who the fuck threw it.
There was a person raising their arm to say
There's a person raising his arm
threw it
right here.
when Anton was calling me an
That
asshole.
wants to be thrown out.
Who the fuck threw it? Fuck on, he's gone. Yeah, because they're fucking pussies. Throw shit at us and then fucking walk away.
Anton was in a rage, looking for someone to fire. And so, Ryan having given Anton the feeblest of feeble reasons, Anton starts pressing his advantage. In we go to monologue number 7.
I'll tell you what the fuck. I warned him he would go to jail in a dog shop. According to prophecy, it's going to pass.
Play this one more
I don't
time.
like it either.
Apologize.
I know that stuff. Yeah.
I apologize for Ryan. Who here did Ryan hit one of you guys? You threw blindly into the audience. Who did it? Okay. let's play music. You be humble. Thank you, Ryan. I apologize to anybody that got wet. I'm wet.
And I apologize for everybody who paid tickets. Let's
For
play a
what?
fucking play a song.
Ryan clearly having won that exchange, Anton storms off stage again, and this time a crew member comes on presumably to tell Ryan that Anton is not willing to carry on with him still on stage. But Ryan is not yet gone, so Anton comes back on stage and, having seized on the throwing of a tiny lightweight cup, begins to blow that out of all proportion to imply that Ryan is dangerous and violent.
Hey, he might throw a mic stand at the next motherfucker. I'm maintaining order. Cool your boots. Thank you. I don't want anybody to hurt. I want to play music. Evidently has something better to do than leave or live. I don't possess.
Don't talk to what you don't know what you're fucking talking to.
I do. Alright, damn.
That same crew member then comes on, and presumably Anton is loudly saying the same thing again. He is not willing to perform with Ryan in the group. So Ryan says this.
If you want me to leave, I'll leave.
This band sounds great with 2 guitars. Ryan, go think about the consequences that I don't need a boss. Thank you. I love you.
For the 1000th time, if you think I'm not on your side, you're on the wrong side.
Ryan takes his guitar off and leaves the stage, throwing something that looks like a piece of screwed up paper at Anton as he leaves.
He's throwing shit at me. Watch this. Can you play the rhythm part? Ricky. The baby's been sent to bed. Will the wind ever remember all these names it has blown in the past? He'll say, no, Ryan, with his old age and his wisdom. He'll say, that shit would be the last. And the wind whispers, Ryan, Ryan, will cry. Oh, you Ryan, don't shit. MCs, let's hang out. Let's not fight. Let's talk about shit. Celery sticks and various dips. MCs, let's not fight. Let's hang out. Let's just chill. Let's go to the zoo. Ready? Even after people throw shit on my Stradivarius, it has to be in tune. It's not a fucking game. Gaza and Israel is not a game. Fuck all of you. This is our time to relax. The world is hectic. Chill.
Eventually, Anton starts the last song of the main set, Forgotten Graves, and as he's started playing, Ryan returns to the stage. The guitar tech gives him his guitar, and Ryan joins in. But the tension is still maxed out, and Anton starts changing the lyrics to the song to include Ryan's name. And Ryan retaliates in the same way, singing into his mic and putting Anton's name in there. They finish the song and half the band go off, including Anton and Ryan. while half the band just stay on stage noodling around on their guitars. There is not much clamour for an encore. Gradually, the crowd do start calling for more, but the band just mill around absent-mindedly on stage for absolutely ages. And then the keyboard player decides to give a little speech as well. This is monologue number 8.
It's like we're Republicans in the States and you throw a red bone. You throw a bone into the cage and you know what you're gonna get. It's mental illness and that's what it is. So if you pay for that, you're such a fucking stupid idiot. If you wanna hear music, leave it out and you know it's gonna be amazing. But the red meat is for losers. The red meat is really for losers. So all these idiots who throw that red meat. I'm from Norway. In Norway, we are social democracy. It's like, it's idiots. And I love you, I really love you.
At last, Anton and the band come back on for an encore. But the encore never happens because Ryan comes back on with them and picks up his guitar. And so, at last, we come to the final showdown in which Anton fires Ryan in front of the entire audience.
My perception as an autistic child is he's ready to play resentments, not guitars. That's how I interpret it when I'm locked in.
Nobody is you.
Cut off this guy's mic, put down my guitar. Party's over, Captain. Please. There's no more music until you get to fuck. We actually don't need you. Go, put my guitar down on the stage and think about what's happening. Unplug.
You better think about this one, man, because this is forever.
Anton has clearly summoned a female member of the venue security team to escort Ryan off stage, so he takes his instrument off and leaves. As he passes Anton, he shoves him, and so Anton smashes Ryan in the head with his guitar, and all hell breaks loose. The venue staff get between them and break it up, and Anton staggers back to sit on his amp for a moment as the crowd yell. He then gets up and gives his last nonsensical, breathless stoner speech of the night, while the venue's security curtain is slowly lowered and the crowd hurl projectiles.
That's all they're saying is, shush. Shut up. Your core values are what define you. What you can be, who you are, what you will be, what you don't know you can be. Undefeated. God bless this country.
And so ended what I consider to be the single worst Australian gig of all time. The remainder of the tour was cancelled, and hilariously in future years, when asked by journalists what happened, what went wrong, even after all the dust settled, Anton still blamed the way that gig turned out on Ryan throwing that plastic cup into the audience, here in 2024 and here again in 2026. So, how do you conclude a video on a gig like that? I could talk about how my heart breaks for the poor doormats that keep joining Anton's band, lured with the attraction of the touring lifestyle and the rock and roll dream. I could talk about the twisted mind games they have to negotiate to keep their vile abuser from attacking or firing them, and how, in my opinion, he seems to derive a perverse pleasure from that unbalanced power dynamic. I could try and present Anton as the victim, but I don't think there's a single human being out there other than Anton himself who would actually buy it. The only hope I can see in this twisted circus comes from this recent interview with The Guardian, in which Anton clearly states that he is now on some proper medication for being, as he terms it, manic, saying when that happens it can be a bit intense for other people. Yes, it certainly can. If you've enjoyed this feature, I could not have made it and put it all together without the invaluable help of Chris over at KC Sunshine Adventures. Go check out his channel and give him a like and a subscribe. The link is in the description. Cheers, Chris. And a massive thank you, as always, to all my supporters on Patreon. There's going to be a Patreon-only feature on Oasis coming up soon, so keep an eye out for that. And if you would like to sign up, the link is down in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and as always, I'll see you next time.